Have you ever looked at an old rock or a rusty drum and thought, this could be something beautiful? In today's video, we'll turn what most people throw away into something extraordinary. From painted stones that brighten your garden borders to recycled drums reborn as planters, fountains, and art. You'll see how creativity can truly transform any space, big or small. Welcome to Simply DIY, where small ideas grow into beautiful realities. If you enjoy what you see, feel free to ask questions or share your thoughts in the comments. Every image and concept here is meant purely as inspiration. Take these ideas, make them your own, and use what you already have to bring them to life. And before we begin, I just want to say, maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this, there's a real story and a real family. When you like, comment, or subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel, you're keeping a dream alive. You're giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. Imagine standing in your backyard on a calm morning, the air still fresh with dew, and sunlight gently brushing the surface of smooth river stones. Each one carries a touch of color, soft pastels, quiet blues, a hint of lavender, arranged neatly along the edge of your small garden bed. It's not just decoration, it's a reflection of care, of time spent shaping beauty with your own hands. Painting river stones is one of the simplest and most soothing ways to bring life into a garden. You don't need fancy tools, just brushes, a few shades of weather-resistant paint, and your imagination. When you paint each stone, you begin to see how even the smallest object can hold warmth, personality, and memory. Some people write tiny quotes on them, others draw flowers or patterns that echo the blooms nearby. The magic appears when these stones catch the light, in the morning when dew glistens, or at dusk when the sun sets and their colors turn golden. They frame your plants with quiet charm and a handmade story. Each brushstroke becomes part of your garden's rhythm, reminding you that beauty doesn't always come from grand gestures, but from the gentle patience of doing something by hand. So, the next time you walk along your backyard or tiny patio, look at the empty soil border and imagine a ribbon of color running beside it. Gather a handful of stones, let the paint dry under the sun, and place them one by one. You'll see how something so small can make your garden feel alive, personal, and full of peace. When daylight fades and the last warmth of the sun slips away, your garden can still whisper with light. Imagine a soft path that glows like a stream of fireflies, leading you through the quiet of your backyard. These gentle lights aren't electric. They come from something simpler, humbler. Glow pebbles that gather sunshine by day and release it slowly through the night. There's something almost poetic about painting light into stone. You wash the pebbles clean, let them dry under the open sky, then coat them with a glow-in-the-dark finish. The secret lies in patience, letting them charge under the sun for hours. Once night arrives, their glow awakens, a calm and natural hue, never too bright, never too harsh. Just enough to mark your steps and soften the dark. Place them along your garden border, weave them between stepping stones, or scatter them around your favorite plant. Every pebble you lay becomes a small lantern of peace, a sign of care for even the tiniest corner of your home. And as you walk barefoot on cool earth, the faint glow follows you like a trail of memories. In the simplest way, you've created more than just light. You've made atmosphere, a place that breathes serenity long after the sun has gone. Sometimes beauty is born from what we once ignored, like an old rusted drum waiting quietly in the corner of a yard. Imagine giving it a second life, a new purpose, a breath of color. A simple coat of paint, a few holes for drainage, and suddenly it becomes a vessel of growth, a planter that tells a story of transformation. On a small patio where space feels limited, these drums can become the heart of the garden. Fill them with rich soil, and let the green take over. Basil, mint, petunias, or even a young lemon tree. There's no rule to follow, only your imagination guiding your hands. Some prefer to paint the drums in soft pastel tones that match the morning light, while others leave the metal raw, allowing time and weather to paint their own texture. Drums are sturdy, long-lasting, and easy to move. Place them in pairs or clusters to shape your tiny patio into something lively, something personal. Add a few pebbles on top of the soil to hold moisture, let vines trail softly over the rim, and notice how the space begins to feel alive, as if nature and craft are quietly shaking hands. It's not just gardening, it's the art of upcycling, taking what once had no meaning and letting it bloom again. On mornings when you step outside with a cup of coffee, the sight of those recycled drums overflowing with color reminds you that creativity can thrive anywhere, even in the smallest of spaces. Close your eyes for a moment and listen. Can you hear it? The soft trickle of water, the rhythm of calm that fills the air like a quiet melody. In a small corner of your backyard, an old forgotten drum begins a new story. Once filled with noise and weight, it now holds only peace, transformed into a miniature water feature that breathes life into every inch of your garden. Turning an old drum into a fountain is surprisingly simple. All it takes is a water pump, a few river stones, and your imagination. Cut the drum to the height you like, seal the edges, and let the water fall gently from a bamboo spout or small pipe. Add floating flowers, pebbles, or even a few tiny fish if you wish. The sound it creates, soft, steady, timeless, invites the mind to rest and the heart to slow down. In tiny patios or small backyards, space is precious. But water brings a sense of openness, of depth beyond the walls. The reflection of sunlight on the ripples, the way the drum's metal catches the day's glow, it turns ordinary afternoons into moments of stillness. This isn't just a decoration, it's a reminder that calm can be made by hand. A reminder that beauty often hides in things we no longer value, until we listen to them again. When the day feels heavy, sit beside your little fountain, breathe, and let its quiet voice remind you that peace can be built, drop by drop, from what you already have. In every garden, there's a boundary, not just to mark where it ends, but to frame what it holds. Imagine a fence that does more than divide, one that tells a story of creativity, texture, and renewal. Old drums once used for work and storage now stand proudly beside smooth river stones, forming a border that feels both strong and artistic. It's a meeting of metal and earth, a blend of strength and calmness. Creating a rock and drum combo fence isn't about perfection, it's about balance. The drums, cut in half or left whole, can be painted in soft neutral shades or bold contrasting tones depending on your garden's mood. Between them, stack river stones or pebbles to fill the gaps, their natural curves softening the fence's industrial lines. The mix of materials creates depth. Sunlight bounces gently off the metal while shadows settle warmly between the rocks. This design is ideal for small gardens and backyards where space is precious but personality is limitless. It doesn't just enclose, it becomes a backdrop for flowers to lean against, vines to climb, and birds to rest upon. It feels alive because it's made by hand, from things that already lived another purpose. Sometimes, beauty isn't about starting new, it's about seeing old things differently. The clang of a drum, the silence of a stone, together become a quiet harmony that holds your garden with grace. When you build this fence, you don't just create a border. You craft a story, one where creativity meets nature and boundaries become art. There's something quietly magical about a tree standing in the middle of a garden, its roots reaching deep into the soil, its leaves brushing against the light. Now imagine wrapping that base with a circle of color, like a necklace made by your own hands. Each painted stone becomes a note in a gentle song of creativity, turning something ordinary into something joyful. This idea is simple, but it brings an unexpected sense of life to even the smallest yard. Collect smooth river stones or pebbles, wash them clean, and let them dry under the sun. Then bring out your favorite paints, bright yellows, turquoise, coral reds, and soft greens, and begin to decorate. You can play with patterns, add dots, tiny flowers, or even write small messages of kindness. Seal them with a clear coating if you want the colors to last through the rain. Once finished, arrange the stones neatly around the base of your tree. You'll notice how the colors pop against the soil, framing the trunk like art born from nature itself. It's a design that costs almost nothing, yet transforms the mood of a space completely. Even in the dim light of late afternoon, those painted stones reflect warmth, a reminder that beauty often hides in simplicity. And perhaps that's what makes this idea special. It's not just about color or design, but about connection, between hand and earth, between care and creativity. A few painted stones can tell a story of patience, playfulness, and love for the little details that make a home feel alive. Out on a quiet morning farm, life begins with simple rhythms, the rustle of hay, the low hum of animals waiting for their meal. And there, beside the wooden fence, stand a few colorful barrels, once forgotten and empty, now reborn with cheerful faces painted on their sides. The pink of a smiling pig, the green of a playful frog, small touches that make even a feeding corner feel alive with warmth. Transforming an old drum into a feeding barrel is more than a practical act, it's a gesture of care. Cut the drum in half, smooth the edges, and rest it on a sturdy wooden frame. A layer of non-toxic paint not only brightens the space but also protects the metal from rust and weather. Each color tells a story of imagination, something that brings a touch of joy not just for the animals, but for those who care for them every day. When the pigs gather around, their snouts nudging at the bright barrels, or when goats lower their heads to nibble fresh grass from inside the drum, there's an unspoken harmony between nature and creativity. You've turned what was once waste into something meaningful, a reminder that beauty can bloom even in utility. Perhaps that's what makes small-scale farming so special. It thrives on heart, not just tools. With a little color, a little effort, and a bit of love, you create a space where work meets art, and every feeding time becomes a moment of quiet happiness. There is something timeless about the way stones can tell stories. Each piece, shaped by nature, carries its own memory, of rivers, of mountains, of quiet days under the sun. When you arrange them into a mosaic, You are not just decorating the ground. You are composing a piece of art that celebrates both patience and imagination. Picture a small garden, where flowers bloom in colors that change with the seasons, and along their edges runs a border of hand-laid stones. Some are polished, some rough. Some are cut from old tiles that once lived in kitchens or porches. Together, they create a rhythm, a blend of texture and tone that makes the flower bed feel alive even when the blooms fade. To make your own mosaic border, start simply. Collect stones in different shades, wash them clean, and let them dry in the open air. Draw a gentle outline along your garden bed, then lay the stones one by one, pressing them into the soil. Don't worry about symmetry. Beauty often hides in imperfection. A curve here, a small gap there, that's what gives it character. As sunlight moves through the day, the stones shimmer, casting tiny reflections over the petals nearby. And when evening comes, they hold a soft glow from the day's warmth, keeping your garden grounded in quiet grace. A mosaic border like this doesn't demand much. Just a few hours, a bit of care, and the willingness to see potential in the small and ordinary. In return, it offers a kind of peace, the kind that stays even when the garden rests for the night. There's a certain kind of peace that only arrives when you share your garden with birds. The flutter of wings, the gentle sound of water, the small pauses between their songs. All of it feels like nature breathing beside you. And to invite that life closer, you don't need anything new or expensive. Sometimes, all it takes is an old drum, a little imagination, and a heart willing to care. An unused metal drum can become a simple oasis. Cut it low, smooth the edges, and paint it with colors that blend softly with your garden. Maybe pale blue, soft green, or just the natural tone of weathered metal. Fill it with clean water and place a few flat stones inside so the birds have a safe spot to perch and rest. Keep it near the shade of trees or tall flowers. Birds love to feel both sunlight and protection nearby. Over time, you'll notice how life returns. Small sparrows dipping their wings, doves drinking quietly, even butterflies resting on the rim. You've built more than a water trough. You've built trust. A place where creatures can pause and refresh themselves in the middle of a long day. That's the beauty of upcycling. It's not only about saving materials, but also about giving back to the world around you. In every drop of water that ripples inside that drum, there's a reflection of care, patience, and the quiet joy of creating something meaningful from something forgotten. Balance, that's what these small towers of stone quietly teach us. In a world that rushes and shouts, here they stand, perfectly still, whispering patience. Each rock rests upon another with trust, gravity, and a touch of grace. And in that gentle stillness, the garden feels alive in a different way, not with movement, but with calm. Creating a rock tower sculpture doesn't demand skill, it asks only for attention. Gather smooth stones from your surroundings, river rocks, pebbles, or even fragments from an old pathway. Wash them, let them dry, and begin stacking. Start from the heaviest base, then let your hands feel for balance rather than forcing it. The secret lies in intuition, in the small tilts, the pauses, the breath you take before letting go. These stone towers fit anywhere, beside a pond, under a small tree, or in a quiet corner of your patio. When sunlight touches them, the surface glows in soft grays and silvers, and after rain, they glisten like glass. They don't just decorate the garden, they create presence, reminding us that beauty can come from stillness. For many, this practice becomes a kind of meditation, a simple ritual to reconnect with patience and the rhythm of nature. And when you finish your tower, stand back and watch how it changes the air around it. Even in the tiniest yard, those balanced stones tell a story of peace, resilience, and harmony, crafted not from perfection, but from quiet persistence. Every patio holds a rhythm, a quiet pulse that tells who lives there, what they love, and how they see beauty in everyday life. Sometimes that rhythm begins with something unexpected, like an old drum reborn not for sound, but for color. Imagine those round metal shells, once dull and industrial, now standing proudly as painted sculptures beneath the open sky. Transforming a used drum into patio art is a joyful experiment. You start by cleaning the surface, smoothing the rust and dust away, giving the metal a second chance to shine. Then comes the color, bold strokes, maybe a geometric pattern, or soft pastel florals that echo the blooms nearby. The paint doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, small imperfections add charm, a touch of human warmth that factory pieces can never capture. These painted drums can serve as planters, tables, or simply as accents that frame your outdoor space. They work beautifully in small patios or corners that need a spark of life. Add a cushion on top and you have a seat. Stack a few to create an art wall. You're not just decorating, you're composing a story of transformation, where metal meets imagination. When sunlight hits the paint, each color seems to hum quietly, catching the warmth of the day. As evening falls, the drums reflect the glow of lanterns or the soft shimmer of string lights. It's proof that art doesn't always belong in galleries. Sometimes it lives in backyards, born from what we choose not to throw away. And in that simple act of creation, your patio becomes not just a space to sit, but a place to feel. As daylight softens and evening begins to breathe, a garden changes its voice. The chirping quiets, the air cools, and the soft glow of candlelight starts to whisper across the stones. There's something timeless about fire resting in rock, ancient and grounding, and yet, when you make it yourself, it feels so personal, so human. Turning natural stones into candle holders is easier than it seems. Choose rocks with a smooth surface and enough thickness to carve a shallow hollow in the center. If you don't have tools, you can even glue small round metal candle cups into the top of flat stones. The beauty lies in imperfection, the rough edges, the way the flame dances unevenly, how shadows stretch across leaves and walls. Place them along your garden path, or scatter them on your patio table. Their light doesn't just illuminate, it creates mood, a quiet kind of magic that wraps your space in peace. When the wind moves, the flames flicker softly, echoing the rhythm of your breath. You don't need many, just a few stones, a handful of candles, and a calm moment to light them. And when night finally settles, you'll see how your backyard transforms, not into something fancy or grand, but into a place that feels alive, soulful and warm, where even the smallest light can change the way darkness feels. Sometimes, the most beautiful corners are born from quiet simplicity, a place where metal meets stone, where something once forgotten becomes the heart of an outdoor space. Imagine an old drum, weathered by time, standing steady beneath a slab of rock polished smooth by nature. Together, they form a small table that feels both rustic and elegant, a symbol of balance between strength and stillness. This project invites you to slow down and create with intention. Take an unused drum, sturdy and wide enough to hold weight. Sand it down, paint it in soft earth tones, or leave it raw if you love the story in its rust. Then find a stone, not perfect, but honest. A flat rock from a riverbed or a leftover slab from a construction site will do. Place it carefully on top, and you'll see how easily beauty finds its form. Add a potted plant, a candle, or a warm cup of tea, and suddenly your garden corner transforms into a quiet retreat, a space that invites pause. Morning light will dance over the stone surface, and by evening, it will glow gently under the sky's fading colors. What makes this idea special is how accessible it feels. No need for machines or expensive materials. Just patience, care, and an eye for harmony. In this simple blend of rock and drum, you create more than furniture. You create a feeling, a humble piece of serenity crafted by your own hands. In every garden, there's a sound that makes it feel alive. Not the noise of the city or the hum of machines, but the soft rhythm of flowing water. A simple fountain can transform silence into serenity. And when it's made from something as humble as an old drum, it carries a story of renewal, where the rough becomes gentle and the forgotten finds its voice again. Picture this, a weathered metal drum, cleaned and painted in a soft tone, standing among smooth river stones. At its heart, water rises and spills over, catching the light like glass. Around it, moss and ferns begin to grow, drawn to the moisture and the peace it brings. The air feels cooler, calmer. Even the smallest garden begins to breathe differently. To make your own, start with a sturdy recycled drum, one deep enough to hold water but easy to move. A small submersible pump is all you need to keep the flow alive. Surround the base with stones, layering them in a way that looks natural, as if time itself placed them there. Add a few touches of green, perhaps ivy, perhaps mint, to let nature soften the edges. What's special about this kind of fountain isn't the perfection of its shape, but the emotion it creates. It reminds you that beauty doesn't have to be loud or polished. It can be steady, flowing, and kind. In the gentle sound of water against metal and stone, your garden learns to rest, and so do you. Every garden tells its story not only through flowers, but through the paths that lead you between them. There's something deeply grounding about walking on stones, hearing the soft crunch beneath your steps, and feeling the texture of nature underfoot. A rocky pathway doesn't just connect spaces, it guides the eyes, frames the blooms, and brings a rhythm of calm to the garden's flow. Making one is as soothing as the result itself. Start by sketching a path that feels natural, not forced, one that curves gently like a stream rather than cutting straight through. Use stones of different shapes and tones. Mix smooth river pebbles with flat stepping stones. Leave small gaps where moss or tiny flowers can grow, softening the transition between rock and soil. As you lay each piece, listen to the sound of it settling. It's a quiet reminder that design can be both practical and meditative. This kind of pathway works beautifully even in small backyards. It gives a sense of depth, drawing you deeper into the space. During the day, the sun glows on the stone surface. At dusk, it holds the warmth, making the garden feel alive long after the light fades. There's a balance in this idea, between wild and arranged, between purpose and imperfection. Each step becomes part of the landscape, part of the story your garden tells. And when you finish, you'll see, the beauty isn't just in where the path leads, but in how it invites you to slow down and walk with care.